Welcome back, everybody. We're going to be jumping into the Dawn of War 3 beta. So, in this episode, I'm going to show you the different elite units that each of the, just call them races have. And I'm also going to show you the different units that each of them have. So over here in the Codex section here, we can have a look at the different units and structures of all the different races. So the Eldar, all races have base builders. So they're just a builder that can build their buildings and their structures and do the base building in this game. And the Bone Singer is the Eldars unit that does this. The Servitor is the Space Marines, and the Gretchen is the Orcs that does their base building. Okay, so the Bone Singer for the Eldar units. They're a builder infantry unit that can repair vehicles and structures. So the Bone Singer has an ability to teleport to a target location, as well as the ability to detect enemies in a target area. So they're good for detecting invisible units as well, so like scouts in certain instances. So they're Dire Avengers. This ranged unit, it's a ranged unit that does damage and bursts and can throw a grenade, causing knockback and damage. So this is the main, that's the main unit you start off with, the base ranged unit. And as we can see here, this gives us some of their stats. So yeah, this is the base ranged unit for the Eldar. Okay, so then we've got Dark Reapers. So they're heavy weapons infantry that damages in a circle around their target, and they must set up before firing. So these guys take a few seconds to set up, and then are able to fire off large bursts of heavy damage. So their weakness is definitely their setup time. If people can get into range and take them out before they can set up, then yeah, they definitely need to be supported. Then you've got Howling Banshees. So this is one of the first melee units you will come across. So they're melee infantry that charge a nearby squad, slowing in a circle around them. They can be upgraded to charge in a target direction, causing knockback and damage. So this is the first melee unit you will come into contact with Eldar. Then we have Rangers. So they're stealthed, long-ranged infantry, must set up before firing, and can be upgraded to provide vision of a target position. So they counter normal armor. Okay. We've got Shadow Specters. So these ranged skimmer infantry that increases damage over time against a single target, deals bonus damage to skimmers. So these are anti-vehicle units. So they're good against like the fast-moving vehicles that people will use to scout in this instance. Then we've got Vipers. So these are the scouting ranged skimmers of the Eldar. So they can deploy a device that slows. So these guys are generally, you want to keep them around the edges of the battlefield because they can be taken out quite quickly, as you can see with their very low amount of health and shield. Yeah. Because the Eldar have a shield whenever they jump into battle. So generally the Eldar are quite hit and retreat, so kind of like guerrilla fighting, I guess you'd call it. So we're starting to get into some of the bigger units that they do have. They do have a few tanky units, but a lot of their early game is hit and run. So the Falcon, it's a ranged transport skimmer that can reinforce nearby squads. So you can do frontline reinforcing with this here unit. And we've got Fire Prism, so long range skimmer that triggers a delayed explosion with its main attack, causing knockback and damage. So this is a bit more heavy. So it charges up its weapons and then does a massive one hit. Yeah, so you can send it in, it hits the vehicle, that's where it does its main damage, and then it waits a few seconds and explodes, and that's the explosion damage is what will cause major damage to, say, infantry. So you do have time to move out of the way of this guy. Then we've got Wraith Blade. So these guys here are their heavy infantry. So they're melee heavy infantry unit that charges a nearby squad, slowing them, and can dash to a target from afar, from far away and taunt them. You can also recall back to an infinity portal when they die. So they're pretty good in those instances. Then we've got Wraith Guard. These are their heavy ranged infantry. So ranged heavy infantry that is required to charge up before each shot, and it can also recall back to an infinity portal. So if you want to pause the video at any stage, you can read the stats of each of those. And I'll quickly just race through the buildings that they have here. So we have webway assemblies. These produce your base units, like your Bone Singer and your Dire Avenger. This is where you're going to be upgrading your tech levels. Then you've got your warrior portal. So this creates your Howling Banshees that I was talking about. That will be generally the second unit you will get out as an Eldar. Then we've got the infinity portal. So these create our Wraith Guards and our Wraith Blades. So our heavy hitting guys, our heavy health guys, people that will be able to tank in the later game. Then we've got Sky Portal for our vehicles and our scouting mechanics in there. And we've got Soul Shrine. This is where all our upgrades will happen. So upgrades will be researched in the Soul Shrine to improve your army. So the Webway Gate. This grants fleet of foot to all Eldar in a circle. So you want to have these. Eldar will generally have these stationed around the map so that their units can move a lot quicker around the battlefield. It increases their movement speed and shield regeneration in these areas. And then every race will have a listening post of some type that they can chuck down to resource points to help protect it. I'll just leave this up quickly. You guys can read through some of the mechanics. Obviously they can relocate their buildings so they can move them around when they want to. They also have that fleet of foot mechanic with that webway gate. So definitely need to look out for that. And one thing to mention is their super ability is the Eldritch Storm. So each faction or race has a special ability. Theirs is a big like electrical storm that you can bring down, and you can temporarily conjure that storm through a specific unit, and then it will be more like targeted lightning strikes on specific people. Okay, so on to the Space Marines. Their first general infantry unit is a Tactical Marine. So these guys are ranged infantry and can be upgraded with a flamer that does damage over time and a cone, or plasma guns that do burst damage. So you can kind of upgrade them how you think they should be upgraded. Then we've got Scouts. So obviously these guys have stealth, so if you're trying to find these guys, you want to have a unit that can detect stealth. So they can be upgraded to plant mines that trigger based on proximity. And then we've got Scout Snipers. So they're a lot like the Scouts, except there's only like one or two of them. And they set up and just snipe infantry off from a range. Then we've got the Assault Marines. These are the guys that jump into battle and knock back. They're generally more melee than anything else. They do have a gun, but it's not quite as effective as, say, the Tactical Marines for that. And then we've got Devastator Marine Heavy Bolter. So they're heavy weapon infantry that damages and slows in a circle around their target. They must set up before firing. So a lot like the Eldar unit in that respect. Then we've got the Devastator Marine with a las cannon. So these heavy infantry are anti-vehicle, whereas these ones up here are just heavy weapons that do damage and slow infantry in a circle. These guys are more for anti-vehicle, so increases damage over time against a single target and deals bonus damage to skimmers. Then we've got the Dreadnoughts. We're starting to get into the tanky units here. So it's a melee walker that charges a nearby squad, slowing them and can slam the ground, causing damage, knockback, and slowing infantry while stunning vehicles. So I believe it is a vehicle itself. Yeah. And then we've got the Land Speeder. So this is the quick scouting vehicle that the Space Marines have. It can also be upgraded with a multi-melter gun. But you generally won't see too many of those because they're quite easy to kill. Then we've got the Predator Annihilator. So this is our anti-vehicle vehicle. So a ranged vehicle that deals high damage to heavy armor targets. Then we've got the Predator Destructor. This is another ranged vehicle, and it does area of effect damage. So if you've got mass, say like orcs charging at you, this sort of thing will be great at taking out massed infantry and stuff like that. We've got the Whirlwind. This thing is also great at taking out massed infantry because it's got artillery fire. So it is going to be fairly squishy, so you do want to keep it at your back line and not let anyone get near it generally, because otherwise it'll just, generally get owned or raped if anything gets near it. And then their special ability is Death Storm. Heavily armored drop pods with 5 assault cannons, allowing it to fire in multiple directions. Lasts a limited time, expiring after a duration. Well, that's one of their units anyway, a Death Storm. Heavily armored drop pod. Okay, so the buildings. The Stronghold is what you start off with. That builds your servitors and which are your builders and your tactical marines. And you do your upgrade here to increase your tech. Then you've got Barracks, which produces your assault marines, so your jumping marines and your scouts. You've got your Doctrine Chapel, which produces your tactical marines, your devastators. Then you've got your Machine Cult, which produces most of your heavy vehicles. And then Arsenal, that does produce all your heavy vehicles. Then you've got your Arsenal, which will do all your upgrades for you to improve your army. And once again, the listening post to protect the different areas. Okay, so Space Marines are able to drop in orbital drop pods. So you'll see that used quite often with Space Marine tactics. And their ability, you have to plant a standard, and then that standard and orbital bombardment can come down in a circle around that, and you can move that to take out units that are captured in the beam. They become immobilized and start to levitate and just keep getting damaged by that. Okay, so their standard is tier 1, grants a shield in a circle, so you can also plant down standards at other times, but you need to make sure you keep control of that standard, or otherwise it won't actually do anything. So tier 2 targets high health enemies with orbital strikes, and tier 3 heals in a circle. Now on to the Orcs. So the Gretchen is their base builder, and they're able to salvage scrap to produce new units on the field. The Boy is their base infantry. So Orcs are generally a little harder to play at the start because they generally only start off with melee infantry. But they can channel a shout to gain a temporary bonus to their movement and damage. So, you gotta know your tactics with the boys. But you can quickly upgrade to shooter boys and get 1 or 2 ranged shooter boys to help out your normal boys. And looting scrap is how you upgrade your units here with these guys. So you loot scrap to be able to throw grenades and cause knockback damage with shooters. You loot scrap to increase your health and stun with the melee charge for boys. Then you start getting into the heavy units like the Knob. So the melee heavy infantry that charges a nearby squad, slowing them, and it can also taunt and nearby enemies. So loot scrap to be able to throw a chopper that immobilizes targets. Then we're getting into the tank busters. So these are the anti-vehicle infantry. Ranged heavy anti-vehicle infantry deals bonus damage to skimmers, and we can loot scrap to send a bomb squig that causes damage. Then we get def gun looters. So these heavy weapon infantry cause damage in front of them, and they loot scrap to slow units with their ranged attacks. And then we're getting into the vehicles. So they have a truck which you can put units into, and it launches them out. So it can launch the units it's transporting to a target position, causing a stun, and can be upgraded to reinforce nearby squads. So you loot scrap with this guy to gain a little shield, because he doesn't have much health, as you can see over there. So he's quite easily killed. Then we've got the Defcopter, which is the Orcs ranged skimmer. And this guy is also really squishy. As you can see, only 450 health. So generally you just use him to skim around the battlefield and maybe take over some points and cause a bit of distraction. He can be good when you loot him because he gets like a chainsaw, like a directional damage, and it can take out a few infantry, but he can also be taken out pretty quickly himself. Then we've got the Killer Khan. This is a long-ranged walker that slowly generates rockets but can fire them in rapid bursts. You loot scrap to increase the number of rockets it can store. It's an anti-vehicle vehicle. Quite long range too. So then we've got the Death Dread, melee walker that charges a nearby squad, slowing them on death, causes damage over time around a position. So you can loot scrap with this guy to grant a shield that increases its speed. And then we've got the big tracks. So these are the big guns for the Orcs. It's an artillery vehicle and can swap firing modes, increasing range and adding disruption, but this requires setup. So you can set it up like up on a high point, and then hopefully they won't know where it is, and it can like rain down artillery on top of them. Loot scrap to create mines with its ranged attacks, triggering in proximity. So as you can see, Orcs are all about the looting of scrap. So the structure that you need to be worried about for that is the War Towers. So these provide a defensive turret and generate scrap. And this is what increases Orc tech, the War Tower. So you need to have 5 War Towers, I believe, to get to max tech. And here we go. We start off with a war camp, so you can only create Gretchen and boys, and then you get a boys hut in order to create boys out of it, and shooter boys and knobs. But you need to have so many War Towers to get the tech to create knobs. Then you got Daka hut. So this is where you start creating the vehicles. So things like tank busters, def gun looters, and trucks. Then you got your mech shop for your defacopters, killer khans, def dreads, and big tracks. So they're your big late game mech units. Then you got your pile of guns. So this is your upgrade building. So all your permanent upgrades are researched in here, and then you get those little extra upgrades for looting that scrap in those certain areas. So they are definitely a unique race to play, because you need to be building forward bases quite often. And then, as with every other race, you have your own specific listening post. So the Orc Faction mechanics, they definitely need scrap. So scrap can be created from those War structures, the War Towers. They create 2 scrap every 30-50 seconds or so, maybe every minute. And they can create up to 2. And then you need to get rid of those scrap next to the tower for the next level scrap to be created. Yeah, so they're built by the Gretchen. It permanently increases Orc tech, provides a turret, and generates scrap. And it also has the War ability, which increases speed and attack danger of your units in a circle. So the Gretchen can quickly salvage scrap into vehicles or a War tower for a reduced cost. Certain units may require a specific size of scrap. So scrap is created from any buildings that are destroyed or the War towers, and also vehicles that are destroyed create scrap on the battlefield. And then the loot, Orc units can interact with scrap to permanently upgrade themselves, as I previously explained. And their super ability is rocks. So that deploys a tractor beam that pulls down rocks from orbit, causes slow and damage in an expanding ring. After a delay, a huge rock slams down, causes knockback, stun, and damage in an expanding circle. The tractor beam follows the first unit to right-click it, regardless of affiliation, unless that unit becomes killed or disabled. So in order to move it, you get a unit to right-click it, and it'll follow that unit. So that's how you can move it along. Yes, okay, so let's go have a look at the different elites that each of the races have. Okay, so Eldar. Let's start off over here. Okay, so our first unit, or elite, going from left to right on these elites here, is Jane Zar. So I'll load her up for you so you can see what she looks like. There we go. So when she is deployed, Howling Banshees become stealthed if they enter stealth cover. Okay, if they enter stealth cover. Stealth is removed if they're capturing, attacking, or getting detected. So that's her doctrine that will happen when she's deployed onto the battlefield. So Jane Zar is quite offensive. So I believe she's the one that can chuck out that boomerang ability. Yeah, so she's a stealth ambush assassin. So she's, yeah, quite low defense, can be taken out quite easily, but that's why she only costs 4 elite points and not, say, 9. But yeah, okay. Then we'll go for Seer and Ranger. Okay, so Seer. Her doctrine is when Macha is deployed. So this is Seer Macha. When Macha is deployed, instead of dying, elite units temporarily enter stasis and heal. But they can still be killed in that stasis. If they don't heal quick enough, they can be killed still. So she's a nuker on crowd control. Very difficult to play. Then we've got Ranger Ronan. So he's also a nuker, but an assassin as well. So his doctrine is Ronan's presence. Sensor interference. When Ronan is deployed, sensor beacons create a path of stealth cover at the target position. So sensor beams are available for use when Ronan is deployed, even if they have not yet been researched. And then finally we have the Wraith Lords and the Wraith Knight. Okay, and you can see them over there. So I'll just jump out and let you see them as well. You can change the colors of all these guys, so they have different skins. I've gotten these skins with the pre-order, but when they get to certain levels you can also unlock mastery skins with them, and you can also create your own skins with Army Painter. Okay, so the Wraith Lord, which is this guy here, he is a tank and crowd control, so he is quite offensive and defensive at the same time. So the Wraith, his doctrine is the Wraith Lord teleports all owned Wraith Guard and Wraith Blades to its position. Okay, so they can teleport backwards and then also teleport forwards to the Wraith Lord. That's pretty cool. Wraith Recall. Huh. And then we've got the Wraith Knight Taldir. So he is quite difficult to play. And he is your biggest, like, Titan unit. So this is the biggest tank that the Eldar have. He's quite crowd control as well, and I believe his abilities are he runs in with his sword dragon along the ground, and then whips it up in a last second movement to slam and knock all all enemies out of the road. So Wraith units, his doctrine is Wraith units temporarily enter an ethereal state, granting stasis. Okay. So that must happen when he jumps into battle. Huh. Okay, so moving on to the Orcs and their abilities. Okay, I just want to show you this skin here for this one. This is pretty cool. Where did his skin go? Oh, over here, this one. There we go. Okay, so the first guy is Warboss. No, the first one most people play at the moment is Weird Boy Zapnoggin. Then they generally tend to go for... yeah, Warboss Gorgutz. Yeah, because he's the one that has the big claw and swings his claw around his head in an ability as well. Okay, so Weird Boy Zap Noggin. When his doctrine is Zap Noggin's Presence. Tower Recall. When Zap Noggin is deployed, looters can teleport to the nearest owned War Tower. So that's a specific unit within the Orc army. Okay, so going on to War Boss Gorgutz. So as I said, he has the major crowd control effects, and he's quite tanky as well. So he has a claw that he shoots out, and it stuns the units that it hits, and then he jumps on into battle and attacks from that claw, like it pulls him into battle. So his special ability or doctrine is when Gorgutz is deployed, a successful War heals in addition to its usual effects. Okay, so moving on, we've got those two done. We'll go on to Big Mech was Macha. So that's this guy over here. I haven't seen a lot of him played, to tell you the truth. So I'm not exactly sure what he does. I believe he shoots some sort of plasma bolts out of these top sections of him. But when Macha is deployed, wrecks left by your units are temporarily upgraded into scrap turrets that automatically engage targets. Oh, I've seen that come into play. That can be a pain in the ass. So when your, say, trucks and things die, that scrap pile is instantly upgraded into scrap turrets that start attacking out of the scrap, and there's not a lot you can do about it, which can be a bit of a pain in the ass. But yeah. Okay, now we'll have a look at Mad Dread. I've seen this guy played a bit. So he's able to tunnel. So he can start a tunnel from one way and pop up underneath units, and then your Orc units can head through that tunnel as well, unless the enemy closes it by destroying the opening that you created. And he also has a special protection shield that he can deploy for that as well over himself, so it's like a scrap shield. So his doctrine is Mad Dread's Presence, even longer War. An even longer War. So when the Mad Dread is deployed, the buff duration of War is increased. Okay. So I don't know if I explained this yet, but War is an ability that the War Towers can use, and it increases their speed and damage, all Orcs in the area, when it's finished its duration. At the end of the duration, the buff is applied. Yep, and then we're going to get into the major Titan for the Orc army. So this is the Beauty Demorkanut. So this guy is the one that has a scrap shield that can put over the top of himself, and he's also fairly tanky. That fist there in his right hand can be shot out and causes a massive explosion where it hits the ground, and then he can recall it back to himself and pull a unit that it grabbed back to him. So his doctrine is Beauty's Presence, better repair. When Beauty is deployed, Gretchen repair significantly faster and the target takes reduced incoming damage. Oh, that's right. He also has an ability where he can deploy Gretchen out of him. So his front compartment here opens and 4 Gretchen jump out and start healing him. But that generally wouldn't be used in battle, because the Gretchens would just be almost instantly killed, considering they have such low health. But yeah, that's the Elites and Titans for the Orcs. And then jumping into the Space Marines. We have to start off with Kill Team Ironmore. So these guys are a really early elite that you can get out. They're a squad. So they just have increased damage and health, and they have like a flamethrower, I believe. And their doctrine is Death Watch can be deployed anywhere you have vision. So when the Death Watch are deployed, your other elites can be deployed around the Death Watch. Okay, and you can see them standing there. Okay, our second unit is Librarian Jonah Acheron. So his main ability is he can create a rock wall shield around himself. And this stops anyone getting out and anyone getting in, including bullets and things like that. But like grenades can be lobbed into it. So you need to be careful in that instance. Because if you set it up, you can have your whole army inside and then it's just like a death fest for people throwing grenades in and you not being able to escape. Yep, so his special doctrine is when Jonah Acheron is deployed, the standard erects a magical barrier in a circle around itself. Yeah, that's the ability I was talking about. Blocks movement and absorbs shots that pass through it. Sorry, guys. Finally, we have Gabriel Angelos. So a lot of people would know this guy if you've played other Dawn of War franchises. So he is a nuker and crowd controller. So his doctrine is when Gabriel is deployed, drop pods heal in a circle upon landing. So when a drop pod comes down, it heals all the units in a circle upon its land. So one of his abilities are he can jump into battle, a lot like the Assault Marines. Jump into battle and slam his hammer down, and that causes a knockdown and knockback effect. And then he also has a whirlwind attack, which will knock down everybody in his area, enabling other people to take them out. Then we have the Assault Terminators. These guys here. So they have Assault Terminators present, so charging slam. This is their doctrine. When the Assault Terminators are deployed, the Dreadnought can charge in the target direction. Causes damage, knockback and vehicle stuns to units it passes through. At the end of his charge, or when activated during the charge, the Dreadnought performs a slam. They lose the ability to perform slam without initiating a charging slam. Okay, so they're a melee unit. So I'm not exactly sure of their exact abilities, but yeah. Okay, then finally we've got the Titan for the Space Marines. It's Imperial Knight Solaria. So she's a nuker. She is actually quite squishy for a Titan. I would think one of the squishiest Titans out of all the three races. She definitely has to be in the back line. So she's a range, so if anyone gets near her, she has trouble damaging them then. Her main abilities are rockets out of the back of this silo here. She shoots 7 or 8 rockets and you target them where you want them to go. If you target them all in the same spot, they do increased damage, but then they're a lot easier to dodge. And then her second ability is these 2 chain guns here. She sets them up, and you can see them setting up, and then she does 2 blasts in the cone area in front of her with those chain guns, taking out massive amounts of infantry and damaging things to the high heavens. So her doctrine is Solaria's Presence, Inferno Missiles. When Solaria is deployed, whirlwind rockets leave behind a pool of fire when they explode. This causes damage over time in a circle. Okay, so you want to kind of use whirlwinds with Solaria, by the looks of it. Anyway, I believe that is all. Yeah, that is all of the elites and units within the open beta. There will obviously be more units and elites in the final release on the 27th of April, but for now this is all we have access to. So I'm going to be playing a fair bit of this, so hopefully I can pick a race and get good at them, and then we can get some good gameplay going. But in the next couple of episodes, I think I will try out each of the races, and you guys can come along for that ride too. we might just go through the training and bring you guys along for that, so you know how the basis of the game works, and then we'll jump into some games and see how each of these races works. So I hope you've enjoyed. Just quickly, this is the army painter, so you can change the trims and everything like that to your liking, the insignias, etc. You can spend crap loads of time on that for every single unit, mind you, as well. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little introduction to the units and doctrines. Hold on. Have we looked at the doctrines for... here we go. Okay, I haven't actually looked at the doctrines, so I'll quickly skim through the different doctrines that these races have. Okay, so at the moment we have tons of bombs for orcs. So shooter boys that have looted stick bombs will periodically throw one at their current target. Causes knockback and damage in a circle. Then we've got Hidun. Looting grants an attackable piece of scrap for looters to hide underneath. The scrap provides stealth for the looters until it is destroyed or looted. Stealth is removed if they are capturing, attacking, or are detected. Looters lose the suppressum upgrade if the scrap is looted. So that's quite good for ambushes. If you can get some scrap and get the people to walk towards you, jump out and suppress everybody. Then we've got tractor pull. The truck's tractor beam locks onto the target squad and pulls them in. Causes them to jump into the truck's hold. That can be useful if you want to use multiple trucks to launch knobs and stuff. Healing scrap. Non-elite units heal after looting scrap. That's cool. Then long-range rocket. The killer can fires a rocket in the target direction, exploding at max range, or the first enemy it collides with. Causes damage and leaves behind a lingering slow in a circle. And then we've got electric shield. While the bigger engine shield is active, Death Dread slow and damage in a circle. Okay, so when the Death Dread shield gets activated, it damages and slows in a circle. In that circle. Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, and I guess you can choose the... okay, you can also choose the color scheme that you want. Oh, that's cool. I'm guessing that's also related to some lore, the different colors, but I'm not exactly sure about that, so don't quote me on it. Anyway, the Space Marine doctrines are ablative armor for the Predator. So Predator's get a shield that regenerates. Invigorating Slam. Activating Slam invigorates the Dreadnought. Grants temporary shield that increases speed while active. The bonus is only applied while Invigorating Slam has a charge. Then Slow Death. The Tactical Marine's Flamer ability slows infantry and immobilizes vehicles. Overwatch. Scout snipers set watch on a circle around a target position. When an enemy steps into the circle area, scout snipers fire with increased attack speed at the target and get a bonus shot for each charge they've accumulated. Scout snipers build up to 10 charges over time while Overwatch is channeling. Okay, and improved listening posts. Listening posts you build have increased health and do bonus damage. And Blessing of the Omnissiah. Production structures and listening posts heal you and your allies' vehicles in a circle. Vehicles need to be out of combat for a while before they can heal this way. Huh, okay. And then they've also got, yeah, Blood Ravens, Black Templars. Okay, so it's the different factions within these races for the different colours. Okay. That's pretty cool, I must say. That adds a little extra to it. Huh. Okay, the doctrines for the Eldar. Webway Hollow Field. The Webway Gate activates a large hollow field, which grants stealth to itself, to self and in a circle. Grants stealth to self and in a circle. So is it always stealthed, or... Oh yeah, I think it's always stealth. That's pretty good, in order to keep your Webway Gates hidden from the enemy. Then we have Rift Blast. The Wraith Guard fires less stable shots from their Wraith cannons. Causes weapon to temporarily do normal instead of armor-piercing damage. So less stable. Oh, so that'll make them a little bit better against infantry for that temporary amount of time, I guess. Avenger Hollow Field. So Dire Avengers become temporarily stealthed. Stealth is removed if they are capturing, attacking, or get detected. Ah, okay, that's cool. So you can sneak up on them. Improved Scream. So Howling Banshees silence and blind targets when melee charging. That improves them significantly, actually. And then Focus Shield. The Falcon creates a barrier around itself that absorbs shots. And deployable energy shields. Bone Singers can construct energy shields that block enemy movement and absorb shots. Requires the tier 2 upgrade on your webway assembly before they can be deployed. Okay, well, that is about everything I can show you to do with, without actually getting into a battle. So I hope you've enjoyed this little introduction to the units and different abilities of the races, and we'll jump into a game in the next episode. Bye!